I'm Maggie with AIHEC, with the Health Initiatives team, and we're really excited today for our webinar presenter, Kasey Nicholson. So moving right into our bio. So we have Kasey Nicholson here to present for us today. We're really excited to have him present on Your Laughter, Your Medicine. Kasey Nicholson is a member of the WhiteClay Nation of the Fort Belknap Indian Reservation in north central Montana. Kasey also has bloodlines ties to the Blackfeet Nation, Crow Nation, Arapaho Nation, Alaskan Native Nations, and Cree Nations. Kasey is from Fort Belknap Indian Community and currently resides in Puyallup, Washington. I'm sure I super butchered that, so making sure to throw in any corrections there. Kasey has earned his BS in Health and Human Development from Montana State University-Bozeman and attained his MS in Rehabilitation and Mental Health from Montana State University-Billings. Kasey has worked with several demographic populations and provided an array of services for each community, organization, and people he has worked with. Kasey is now self-employed as a motivational speaker, Emcee at such things as powwows, weddings, and conferences, wellness educator, actor, comedian, and writer. Kasey,
wow.
At
this is a long, this is an impressive, he has a lot to live up to, Kasey.
Yeah, no pressure. He's headlined at various comedy clubs, casinos, conferences, and community gatherings. He was selected as a finalist to perform at the 2014 Red Nations Film Festival comedy competition at the Laugh Factory in Los Angeles, California. Kasey won the 2018 Montana Funniest Comedian Competition and won Missoula's Homegrown Comedian Competition in 2017. Kasey also appeared on the ABC television show called Holey Moley in 2022. Kasey is one of the rising Native comedian stars and looks to only gain more popularity and opportunities. So we are very excited to welcome Kasey Nicholson to our health webinar series. So thank you, Kasey, and welcome.
Hey, yeah, thank you everybody for joining in and participating in today's presentation, webinar, Zoom meeting, whatever we want to call it. Well, hey, Panita, and he said, what's not get Kasey Nicholson hasena ninana ni no ni nisin inikit adehi. It's a good day today. Life is beautiful. I'm happy to be here. I'm grateful. I am appreciative. Yeah, that was a long bio. I didn't realize I wrote all that.
That's
but hey,
pretty impressive.
Now you know who I am and where I am about, and I really do have a passion for what I do, and kind of like steamroll into this whole laughter is medicine kind of presentation. As you know, as American Indians, Native Americans, Indigenous people, first people of this continent, and just being a human being in general, laughter is medicine. And you know, as my people, we love laughing, you know, even through the traumatic times, even through times that maybe totally seem inappropriate. That's just a great coping skill I think a lot of our people have, and we use it totally to our advantage, from teasing to, you know, laughing during funerals, laughing during hard times. It's just truly something that I think we use as a people to really get by through, especially through all the traumatic experiences that we've been through as a people. And personally talking about where I've been through and what I've gone through, I realized at a young age that I too was using that, not knowing that that was my coping skill as I was growing up. I'm an only child raised by a single mother. But one time I was watching my uncle spank my cousin. And he was just giving it to him, you know. I mean, not really hard, you could say it was abusive, but it wasn't. I don't know, you know, to each their own. But he was making his son mind. And I remember watching my cousin getting whipped, and I realized, you know, I let out this, you know, kind of thing, because I wasn't seeing the traumatic thing happening. What I seen was the face. I don't know why I laughed at that time. I was a kid. And I had that little kind of thing, like, you know, I let it out, like I was about to laugh. And my uncle seriously turned towards me and said, "You want me to give you something to laugh about?" And I realized at that time, I'm using a laughter, or I'm using this coping skill to get past this traumatic experience. And as I grow up, I'm realizing I'm this kind of goofy kid in class. I'm not trying to be a class clown. I'm not trying to make people laugh. This is who I am. And it just kind of naturally kind of fell into my lap. And as I started growing up, I kind of fell into this, I would like to call it a rut. Okay, it is a rut. For me, it was a rut. This rut of what society believes that you should become, or what your family say, what is safe and secure. And I fell into this rut of, getting your college degree, getting your education, get that IHS scholarship, go work for IHS or BIA, and make a good government living for yourself, because government has, they have good benefits and all these great savings and all this other stuff. So in my mind, that was the rut I was going into. And that's what I felt I had to do. Like it was the status quo for who I was supposed to become. And to rewind back before I continue with that endeavor of going into the government field, I always felt like I always was interested in comedy. Some way, somehow. I remember when I was 7 or 8 years old, I want to say, maybe that. And I remember walking into the trailer in Gallup, New Mexico, and my mom had some people over, and they were laughing. And I was looking around, and there's no TV was on. No TV was on. I'm like, what are they laughing at? And I hear this thing coming out of the speakers. And obviously back in the days we had tape players, and I seen this tape, or the tape playing, and these two individuals saying stuff, and they were making, I guess, jokes, But what I found interesting was people around these speakers, or around the stereo, people were laughing. And so I sat down because I wanted to be part of this laughter, like, what's going on? I don't know. And then I remember, as they were going through their punchlines or going through their jokes, it was Williams and Reed, ended in a white guy. And as I was sitting down, I wasn't understanding the jokes, but I remember the energy and the feeling of laughter. So I wasn't really laughing at the jokes. I was laughing with everybody, even though I didn't know what was going on. I was laughing with people. And a lot of people don't know, when I was living in Gallup, New Mexico, a lot of traumatic things were happening in my life at that time. And so for that moment in that time, I realized, like, after looking back, that I forgot about my traumatic experiences. I forgot about worrying and stress. I forgot about not really liking it in that trailer, like not liking it in that environment. I forgot for that moment, for that, 30 minutes that I was there laughing with everybody. I forgot. I was healing in some way, some odd different way, because when you heal, a bunch of endorphins, a bunch of energy kind of goes into the air. You get these negative ions that go within you, and all these other things, but energy stuff. And then, so fast forward into, as I was a kid in Gallup, Mexico, I started watching. You're not supposed to watch this. I kind of snuck, so nobody tell my mom. I used to watch Def Comedy Jam when I used to live in Silver Spring, Maryland. And I don't know if you guys, any of y'all know what Def Comedy Jam is, but it was a pretty rank, really based around Black comedy, late night comedy show. And it would be a bunch of these, comedians that would come on stage, and some of them were, PG, but some of them were really rank and rated R. Anyways, I remember watching them watching that, and I looked at it, and I was really like, wow, that kind of looks fun. That looks kind of interesting. I wouldn't mind being a comedian. I threw it out to the universe. I put it out there. I remember during that time, I wrote a 10-year letter. I wrote a 10-year letter at this time as well, and saying, I went into class, and it was probably like maybe 2 or 3 weeks before summer started in my 8th grade, or after my 8th grade year, going into my freshman year. And I remember going into this class, and the teacher asked us to, back then we had the projector, where you write out with a little dry erase mark, and you had to spray, and you had to like wipe it off. And I remember on that projector, it said, 10-year later, and then it had the things that you're supposed to put on your piece of paper. And it said, dear blank space, it's 10 years from now, this is what you said you're going to be, ... or something like that. And so, you know, we got down, everything kind of settled down, got past the whole uncomfortable stage of like, what's going on? What are you going to put? What are you going to put? Kind of stuff. And then I kind of just sat down and I started writing, you know, and as I started writing, you know, the list started kind of growing. At first I was like, I don't know what I'm going to put 10 years from now. Like, who's thinking that? Like, really? Like, seriously, that's so stupid. Like, 10 years from now, I'm 13 years old. Like, I don't know when to be when I'm 23 years old. Like, what the heck? But as I kind of settled in and I seen everybody kind of taking this serious, I kind of said, okay, I better, you know, settle in, take this serious. And I started writing. And I remember the first part of it was just dreams, you know, a lot of it was just dreams of what I wanted to be, you know, and maybe all of us been through that, of writing dreams of what we should be or what we could be or what we always wanted to be. And I remember on that, I put professional athlete, pretty much saying baseball, basketball, football. And then I went college athlete, college athlete, baseball, basketball, football. And then I went to college. I want to go to college. As a 13-year-old, I wrote I wanted to go to college. And I didn't know my profession, but I remember specifically writing to help my people. As a 13-year-old, I remember specifically writing that. And as kind of started going down, it started kind of dwindling, you know, I want to be respectful, I want to be kind, I want to be nice, I want a dream woman, you know, hey, right? Everybody wants a dream woman or a dream man or, you know, a dream partner, whatever it may be. And I remember writing, you know, long, dark hair, beautiful, succulent brown eyes, jokes. I didn't put succulent. I didn't even know how to write that. I didn't even know how to spell that. But as I started going further and further down on this list, I started really reaching far, like, looking at my buddies' papers and their list is long or short. I'm just like, I'm going to keep going. And on the very bottom of those two last ones, I remember putting comedian. I remember putting comedian. For, you know, second to last. And I remember putting actor on the end of that. And then I'm pretty sure I remember that's what it was. And I remember folding my piece of paper, putting it into my envelope, sign, you know, put it to an address that I know, you know, to an auntie that would not move ever. So I wrote it to an auntie that wouldn't move. And then I licked it, sealed it, gave it to my teacher. 2 weeks later, summer break, 8th grade, after 8th grade, done. 8th grade is done. Junior high is done. Off to high school. So I wasn't even thinking about, you know, and during that time is hormones, you know, we're going to move from Maryland to Fort Belknap, Montana. And so like, I didn't even think of, I seriously, the time that I handed it in to my teacher, I did not think about this letter. Going back to the whole working for the government, working for IHS, all that stuff. I went back into that rut. I went back into what I thought was safe, what was appropriate for me. And as I kind of went into that, it was good. Pay was good. I worked for, you know, Fort Belknap, worked for Missoula Indian Center. I was an intern at the psychiatric ward in Billings, Montana. So I did a lot of this preparation, this training within, you know, the government to get me going within this government. But something always was saying like, this ain't you, Kasey. This is not what you're supposed to be doing. But in my mind, I'm like, I got to pay my bills. I got to save up for retirement. I got to do all these things so that I can be as successful as I possibly can. Look at my auntie and uncle. Look at my mom. Look at all my aunties and uncles. Look at my friends. Look at their friends. They're set. They're good, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, you know, so I continued to go with this. But as I was kind of going through this rut or this ideation or, you know, just whatever it's supposed to be, I'm supposed to do based off of what other people are doing, I found myself kind of getting less motivated, less inspired, just going to work because you have to go to work, just doing the monotony of everything in life and not enjoying it at all. The only thing I enjoyed was powwowing during the summers, running, working out. And then I started golf at that time. So I started really liking golf. But when I went to work, I just wasn't really enjoying work. And it really became a weight on me. And I remember as I was working in Missoula Indian Center, and it wasn't because of Missoula Indian Center. At the time, maybe I blamed it, but I can never give power to something else to allow me to feel a certain way in that regard of draining me, of making me less than or making me feel inferior. Now that I sit back and I realize I gave a lot of power to a lot of people and let them make me feel, let them determine how I should live my life. And I realized, like, at the end of that time, I realized, like, holy man, I'm really unhappy. I'm really drained. I'm really not on a life that I want to be. So I end up, and the big turn of it was I had a panic attack, anxiety attack. And if you guys, anybody's ever had one of those, that's just your body saying, yo, man, something's got to change. You're not taking the healthy steps. You're mentally not taking care of yourself, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, socially. You're not taking care of yourself. Something's got to change. And your body can only take so much before it slaps you in the face and says, all right, you need to do something different. Clearly, what we're doing right now is not working. And so I had this panic attack, and and being a mental health therapist and a drug and alcohol counselor, I was like, how can this be happening to me? Like, why is this happening to me? I'm supposed to be helping people that are going through this. This can't be happening to me. And as I was going through this, the recovery period of, knowing that I am fine, it's just all in my head and my body's just reacting to this fight and flight, response. Fight, flight, freeze, flee, whatever response. I started working through it. I didn't take any meds. I said, I'm not going to take any meds. This is buckle down time. So I'm going to try my best to figure out who I am. Not what other people think I am, but figure out who I am, what I want in life, so that I can be happy, so that I am not stressing, so that I am not anxious in life. And so, it took about 1.5 years to like everything kind of settled down, like a lot of mental work, a lot of emotional work, a lot of spiritual work, a lot of physical work, a lot of social work, and work with who I'm going to surround myself with. And, it took a long time to get past these anxiety attacks, this fear of something that is wrong with you. And it didn't really make a shift until I made a decision, an ultimate decision for myself about, I think maybe 1 year later or something like that, 1.5 years later, where I said, okay, I think I'm on a better track. I think I'm better. I'm in a better place. And so I said, fine, I'm quitting. I walked into this apartment that my ex was in, and I said, hey, I'm done. She's like, what? I was like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. This is the end. I'm done. It's totally done. And she totally thought I meant our relationship at that time. She's like, what? We're done? What are you talking about? I'm like, no, not us. My job. I said, I'm totally done with my job. I'm done with it. I ain't going to do this anymore. And so then I just gave, I think, a month notice, or I stayed in there a little bit to help transition into like a new phase for them, knowing that I was going to be out. So I ended up getting out of that and I ended up committing to myself and what I truly wanted. And I've always wanted to be a speaker. I always went back, home to talk to the high school and talk to the kids and allow them to understand, like, anything can be yours. And I realized, like, I need to practice what I preach. So I just said, done. I'm done. I'm not going to work, the 8 to 5 anymore. There's entrepreneurship out there. There's success out there. There's money to be had. There's happiness to be had. And I'm going to go find it. And I remember 4 years before I quit, I remember doing my first time doing comedy in 2010. And I remember how natural and how awesome it felt to do comedy, to be up on stage and be who I truly was and where I truly enjoyed life and make people laugh, even if it was for 5 minutes, even if it was for a minute. And I was like, I want to be that. I want that tingling sensation. Something inside me said, this is what you're supposed to do, or this is where your true happiness is. And so in 2014, because of that 2010 experiences and off and on experiences from those 4 years before I actually quit in 2014, that's what kind of motivated me, pushed me to really adventure into being a comedian and a speaker full time. And so since 2014, that's what I've been doing. I've been doing comedy, I've been doing speaking, workshops off and on throughout the years, all over the country, US, Canada, hoping to move over like to New Zealand one day, hopefully do Hawaii one day. I don't know, but obviously it's going to happen because I put it out to the universe. But when that happens, I'm going to be ready for it. But in 2014, that's when I really, really realized that I really enjoy this. And I really, something about it, as a little kid in 2000, I don't know, when I was 8 years old, and forgetting about my problems, forgetting about my worries and stresses, forgetting about all those things for that 30 minutes and laughing because everybody else is laughing, I realized there's a real power in that, a power set within me that I could be a part of that and facilitate that laughter to happen and that change, and see that person that comes in with slumped shoulders and kind of just not really into it. And then after a show, after one of my comedy shows or one of my motivational talks, or even, or supporting somebody else in their comedy or their motivational talks, and seeing that person change, even for that minute or those 2 minutes, saying, wow, there's potential there for that individual to be happier. And it could be facilitated through comedy. And a lot of people, especially in today's world, are so instantly gratified. Like, I've changed my jokes, but I haven't changed my cadence of my jokes. Some people, it's got to be like quick way to go. Like a laugh every minute is kind of the saying in comedy. For me, I like to kind of draw it out. It's not that you're not laughing, but you're going to be enjoying the story while I say it, and then I hit you with the punchline. But even for that minute, for that time, I hopefully would have that person or those people tuned in to listening and not worrying about all this chaos or all this nonsense or this all these world problems that are going on, and they're just focusing on this person, this individual, me or whoever, and forget about their day, forget about the worries and the stress. And again, like I said before, that in itself is healing. And we could go into the science of things, but I mean, that stuff you can always go look up, like what happens when you laugh. We know, we could feel what happens chemically when we laugh. Like our faces brighten up, our eyes start sparkling, we show our smiles, and people look so much happier, and we feel that energy that bounces between everybody. That in itself, and you see that from a person, me as a comedian on stage, looking at everybody, man, if you guys seen what I see on stage and the healing that goes on, people just laughing and just, whatever they may be, and bumping each other. Oh my God, what did he say? It's hilarious. And I remember, like, one of my biggest, what'd you call it? One of my biggest fans, sorry, looking for something here. There it is. One of my biggest fans was my grandma. She's passed away now, and I remember she was one of my biggest fans, and she honestly probably taught me, and my mom too, they probably taught me that laughing is medicine. The way they laughed was loud, like really, really loud. Excuse me. I just realized my phone's my computer's gonna die. And we're good. She laughed so hard, like seriously, like laughed really, really hard. And it was the funniest thing. My mom laughed so hard. And I know a lot of us, like, maybe, I don't know who has a crazy loud laugh, but when you hear another laugh, again, you do not need to know what is so funny. You're just gonna laugh because their laugh is so funny, and that's how contagious laughter is. And I guess as I kind of go along through this, and that's kind of like a little small story about where I've been and how I've been and why I chose what I chose, and it's a very small little sliver of who I am and what I'm about. But I am very passionate about the things I do. I'm very, very like when you introduced me and you said I was on Holey Moley, and I took a chance. And if there's anybody here, I would really encourage some of you and whoever's going to watch this later on to take a chance, especially if that's something that might change your life or might make you feel better or might, or, you know, it's going to make you feel uncomfortable, as we all know that. And that Holey Moley show, you know, they found me on Instagram, and I didn't really I just had to do a couple of interviews. I didn't really have to apply, but I did a couple of interviews. I was selected to be on Holey Moley. And I remember, and this is the thing, this is why I'm saying I'm so passionate, I'm so like into this, is because the or what I do is not because, it is because of something I love, but I'm not taking, it's not what ultimately drives me. You know, what ultimately drives me is my people. It's who I surround myself with. It's my family, it's my tribe, it's my people all over the country, it's my reservation, it's all the tribes that I am. I'm a straight up mutt. I'm freaking Blackfeet, I'm Crow, I'm Arapaho, I'm Cree, I'm Awnee, I'm Alaskan Native, and it's how hairy my legs are. There's probably white or Mexican in there. I don't know, okay? I'm just saying, you know, I don't know. I didn't do an ancestry DNA test. I don't know. But there's something, all those tribes I'm representing. And when I did that show on Holey Moley, I really, my drive of that, when I said yes, was to help the kids or somebody struggling in life to say, wow, he did it. I could do it too. Or, you know, and all these actors and all these accolades that a lot of these native reservation dogs, you know, Killers of the Flower Moon, is that the next one coming up? All these different movies that are coming up. And it's just like, wow, like there's this shift that's happening. And I get to be part of that shift. And not just me as an actor or a comedian or an influencer, but all of us. Then that's the thing, is I bring everyone. For me, this is just me, and maybe it's the same for all the other actors and stuff too, but I bring everybody in. I represent everybody. I don't just represent me. I don't represent my kids. I don't only represent my family. I don't only represent my tribe. I represent everybody. And that in itself is a beautiful thing. That in itself, in my opinion, is healing. Like when you can be in service to everybody else and saying that, come along with me, let's all succeed, let's all do something beneficial to our people and our lives and our mentality and our emotional, spiritual health, you know, bringing everybody with that, because that's what I do as a comedian. I represent you guys. I represent, you know, the Choctaw, the Seminole, the Cree, the Assiniboine or the Dakota people, the Squamish, you know, Suquamish. I represent everybody. And I think with all those things combined, I really feel like that's where that passion comes from, in terms of when I do comedy and when I do speaking, I'm representing everybody. And so when I do, and I go up on stage, I don't take it lightly. I try my best, even if it's a free show to, you know, thousands of dollars show. I try to put the same exact energy, because there's going to be that one person coming in that needs that healing, that needs that laughter, that needs that positive energy. And there's going to be that one person, whether it's at a free show or whether it's a person that's paying $50 a ticket show, that one person's coming in to laugh. And that's my job, is to facilitate or provide some type of laughs about some certain traumatic things that we've all been through in some odd, different way. And I think that's where my heart was truly lying, in terms of, like, not lying, but that's where my my heart truly was I don't know, whatever, was resting. I don't know. Was within that area of speaking and doing comedy. And if anybody knows about comedy or has been part of that comedy, I really encourage each and every one of you to please, oh my gosh, please attend Native comedy shows, American Indian comedy shows, Indigenous comedy shows. Please attend those. There are so many. Like, I've done shows where it was free. Let's just say it's free, at a banquet, and, you know, there's like 700 registered freaking, you know, participants, and like 30 people show up, and it's just like, where's all the natives at? Like, and then what happens is, oh, I didn't know about it, or I didn't know this, or I didn't know that, and I'm like, that's a little push to say, hey, if there's a comedy show, please, if any of you all listening, please go to the comedy show. It's a art form, it's a talent, it's a different way to, we don't have, like, if I mess up a lyric, I don't have a drummer or I don't have a guitarist that can go like cover me. Like, it's like I say it and I bombed. And that's, I don't like, anybody want to back me up? No? Okay. I mean, it's a very vulnerable situation. So the more support a lot of the comedians have, I think a lot more things will flourish from that. But through my comedy, getting back to, I went on a little tangent there, but through my comedy, I really truly do heal. I really, really truly do heal. I remember one of the first jokes I've ever said was Rocky Boy, Montana. One of the first jokes I've ever said was, my as I'm going up there and I'm trying to figure out, when I first went up stage, I didn't have no material. My buddy just asked, "Hey, you're pretty funny. Do you mind going on stage, or do you mind opening up for us?" And I'm like, "Huh?" And I remember going back to that 10-year letter saying, "You wanted to be a comedian, Kasey, try it out." And I said, well, what my body was supposed to say was no, but what came out was yes, like a question, like yes, and great, awesome, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, they ended up saying my name, and I went up on stage and I was fumbling. I was just like, what? And then I was just saying stuff here and there for about a minute, which seemed like I was saying stuff for about an hour. A minute on stage is like an hour, it's just like a lifetime, like, oh my God. And eventually I started getting this, like this traction of something. I said something, somebody laughed. I said another thing, somebody laughed. And I was just saying things. I was just trying to pick things out of the air. And then I just said, okay, this is what I said. I know, don't be offended, but this is what I said. Okay. It's not gross, but I said, old people, and this is a 18-year-old over show. Okay. Old people, you're nasty too. I said that. Okay. And then the joke, not the joke, but the kind of the way it went through was kind of like, ha ha ha, they all are laughing. And then I was talking about my grandma somewhere in that. And I said, my grandma used to whip me. And I said, she used to whip I said, not my grandma. My mom used to say, I haven't told that joke for so long, I forgot. My mom used to whip me. And I asked everybody, who got whipped? Anybody get whipped? And everybody, hey, me, I got whipped. And I said, yeah, but my mom used to whip me with her thong. And if in today's age, you have the underwear thong, but back in the days, you had the flip-flop thong, the thing that went between your toes, and it made the loud flip-flop when it hit your heel, right? And she had these big black rubber thongs, these big black rubber flipper things, whatever.
Okay. I'm in a webinar right now until like 3 o'clock.
Okay.
Can you leave it?
That's good.
On desk or something, or I don't know.
Talk about comedy. Yeah.
I know, right? I was like, I thought she was stopping. I thought she was stopping me about.
Yeah.
We'll talk about thongs.
Flip flops. I think the brand I used to wear called Flow Hose. Remember the Flow Hose?
Oh, I honestly don't even know where my mom got her thongs at. Like, I mean, her flip flop. I don't know. It was just like this. It was a thick black rubber and had like these rainbow things on it. And but yeah, I remember those. I remember that. And and I kind of went into the story of her spanking me and how traumatic it was, but I made it really funny. And that was one of my very first jokes that I ever said. And then throughout the years, obviously, I'm telling jokes about my traumatic experiences. As non-native telling me to prove that I'm Indian. And I made that into a joke. And I'll say it really fast before we have to take questions and answers and stuff, or the Q&A stuff. But I was on stage. I said, well, hey, Panita and Anisa, what's not get Kasey Nicholson Hasina? And this non-native guy, this white guy stood up and he said, hey, don't be speaking Asian in here. And he's drunk and he's kind of into it, and he's kind of, and it's Billings, Montana, there's some racism there. I don't know if anybody's been to Billings, but and this white guy stood up and he's like, hey, buddy, don't be speaking Asian in here. And I'm like, whoa, that's not Asian, sir. This is Asian. So the only Asian word I knew was konnichiwa. So I said, no, konnichiwa is an Asian word. That didn't sound nothing like Asian. He's like, well, don't be speaking Mexican in here. And I was like, sir, it's not Mexican. I said, it's Spanish. And if you want to know what Spanish is, this is what it is. Donde es biblioteca estúpido? And he's like, what does that mean? And I'm like, I don't know. Mexican guy told me that. You tell me when you know. And I said, third of all, I said, don't be pointing at me. This whole time, he's just pointing at me, telling me not to speak, this certain language. And I said, as Indians, we don't like to be pointed at. I said, the way we point is with our lips. And I really pointed, way over there. And he's like, I'm not pointing. He said, I had a roping accident. He said, I was going to dally the rope around the horn. And I had a hairy rope, and if you don't work with ropes, the hairier the rope, the more slippery it is. So he went to dally it, and he was a roper, and he ripped off 3 of his fingers, and they were just nubs. And he said, and I was like, oh my gosh, sir, I'm so sorry, sir, I didn't mean that. And he's like, you know what, young man, if I could, I would flip you off, And I'm like, holy. And this whole time he's pointing at me, and I was like, well, and he's like, I would flip you off. And I looked at him, he looked at me, then I looked at his finger, and I said, you do have a point. And that's just a dumb joke, right? Because he did have a point, right? And people are laughing at that joke, and I'm like, and that was a joke I just told on stage, you know what I mean?
Right off the top of your head.
Off the top of my head, trying to deal with this traumatic experience, because I really, really got mad. Like, you're so ignorant that you think what I'm speaking to you and what I look like, I either look Mexican or Asian, and the words I just said are either Mexican or Asian, not knowing that I'm a Native American Indian, or whatever you want to call us, indigenous. And it's just like, inside me was infuriating, but I said, I'm going to flip this in that moment and make it funny so that we can all. Then seriously, he just sat down for the rest of the show after I said that, because everybody laughed, and he just kind of like almost maybe got embarrassed, or I don't know, or he just got got it put to him.
I think you beat him.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the power of, I think, humor, and the things that I deal with in my life is I make those traumatic experiences. And like a lot of comedians do, Robin Williams, so many different comedians have these traumatic experiences where they turn it and make it funny, because it's so relatable, because as human beings go through some type of versions of those traumatic experiences. No one's exempt, it's how we deal with a lot of those things. So that in itself is really, really a beautiful thing in terms of like what I do in a comedic sense. But I heal from that, and I see people heal from that. And it's a beautiful art form. And it's just another outlet to see how people, when they laugh, they forget about their problems for even that 1 minute, that one joke, and they might have been thinking about that for all. I kid you not. I had this comedy show, and I'm not saying it was me. It was her that came and allowed herself to feel. So I would, like I said, I was just a tool. I wasn't because of it me, but she came in and she's like, I was about to do a bad thing, and coming to this comedy show really lightened me up. It really, maybe I haven't laughed in years that hard. And so that in itself, hearing those type of stories really makes me as a comedian really think this is just bigger than getting up on stage. This is bigger than just following one's dreams. This is literally helping people heal. And it's something that's beautiful, and I'll never take what I do for granted, and I'll continue to do it as long as I can, as much as I can, as hard as I can, with all the heart that I have. And because I know laughter is just not something that's to be taken granted for. It's a really beautiful thing that so many people maybe take for granted, how powerful laughter really can be. Yeah. So I know maybe I was supposed to be done at 11:40, but I want to share with you, not done, but I want to share with you these. I'll share with you the BHC supplement and maybe the moved one, but BHC, anybody take BHC supplement? B is for belief. Okay. One of the hardest things that I had a hard time doing in life was believing in myself, because I had a lot of self-doubt, I had a lot low self-esteem, I had low, just a lot of lowness, but I painted this facade like I was okay. It wasn't until a grandma told me when I was at a comedy show, and after a comedy show, she came up to me, and she was really old grandma. She looked up at me and she's like, "Can I tell you something?" I'm like, "Tell me anything, She said, "You're beautiful." And in my mind, I'm like, "Shit, grandma, you can't handle this." I didn't say that. That's just what I thought. I just joking. But her saying you're beautiful, really, something inside me really, really made me feel uncomfortable. Like, because no one's ever called me beautiful before. Birds and trees and flowers and women and all these like other things are beautiful, but no one's ever, as a man, called me beautiful, handsome, all these things, good looking, all that stuff, but never beautiful. And so I went up to my room and I really sat with that, and I was getting ready for bed, and I got done brushing my teeth, and there's a big hotel mirror, and as you're about to shut off the lights going out the door, everybody does they all look at themselves one more time before they go to bed. They look at themselves, and then they turn off the light, right? But this time I looked at myself and I kind of double backed and I was like, what? And I looked at and I literally said what to myself, you know? And I was like, in my mind, like, say it. And I'm like, say what? And you know what the old lady told you? Kasey, you got to practice what you preach. I'm like, what are you talking about? You're always telling people to look at themselves in the mirror and say that they're loved, they're healthy, and that they're awesome, or something like that. Some three affirmations. So you should say, you're beautiful. I'm not going to say that. Like, that feels so weird. Just say it. And I'm like, no, you say it first. Really arguing with myself, right? And I'm like, all right, on the count of three, we'll both say it, you know? So 1, 2, 3. And I said it, but I said it really not in a way that I believed it. I was like, you're beautiful. And I'm like, you know, and I said it over and over. You're beautiful. I did it over and over and over. And finally I got to like maybe the 20th time. And I remember the feeling of belief that started happening in me. The letting go of all this, letting go of all the what is not supposed to be said about a man, and just letting go of all that, you know, all of it. And I remember the tear ducts like kind of like filling up. And I remember my lip kind of starting to quiver a little bit. And I was just like, oh, you know, and you could feel you're just like trying to shake off the tears, you know, just say it. And I remember saying it and really looking into the mirror and saying, you know, really like, you got to believe this, Kasey. In this moment right now, you have to believe that you're this person. You're a beautiful person. So I said it. And when I said it, you said, you're beautiful. And then I gave myself a little nod and I turned off the lights. I went to bed and I repeatedly said it in bed. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. And, you know, and really trying to hammer that home that I woke up. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. Man, I'm beautiful. I'm beautiful. And when I said that over and over to myself, I started like these random people, you know, in the lobby area, you know, I went to the store and I was like, you know what? Hey, I like your shoes.